What is the harm reduction approach? This is different compared to the total abstinence model. So they are both equally effective at minimizing harm to people, whether it's by complete abstinence, so they're not using their drug of choice anymore, which is typically the case at most rehabs. Harm reduction is a newer thing, and it's saying that if a person has tried abstinence but they keep failing, they keep having relapses, then maybe to consider to try a different approach altogether, because what was happening is a lot of people were relapsing, and this is the highest risk for overdose and for people to die, and it's not a failure. The 12-step programs as well, they don't punish people for having a relapse. In fact, they welcome them to come back into the program and to admit that they've had a slip. But some people don't like the 12-step approach. They feel that it is punitive or punishing because they need to go up in front of everybody and to explain. They don't have to make any explanation, but just to pick up a new white tag or white coin. So it can be difficult for people, and some people just don't do well in the total abstinence model. But I would say for anybody who's first trying, the first kick at the can, the first time they're trying to get help for themselves, is to consider the total abstinence model. The best way to treat it is to have complete abstinence, in my opinion. This is not easy, and it's not just going cold turkey, it's learning techniques and tools how to avoid a relapse. And this is best learned at a rehab. Going on to harm reduction now. This is for somebody who's tried it several times, tried total abstinence. They weren't able to be successful over the long run. And this is suggesting that to try to engage in activities to minimize harm to themselves, i.e. prevention of overdose or further harm by infectious disease or worsening of their addiction. So the way that harm reduction works is to say, okay, if you're going to use, it's fine, but try to be smart about your use. Try to moderate your use. Try not to use to the point of excess. Try to engage in your activities of normal life. Try not to have a failure of those or breakdown, meaning that there's no loss of work hours or sleeping in or being late. Those sort of things. Those are indicators if they are coping well with their drug of choice, or if they're not coping well. The most commonly known harm reduction approach are safe injection sites for opioid users, typically heroin users. And in this situation, it offers them a lot of benefits. Number one, it's a safe environment, so if they have an overdose unintentionally or not, there's treatment right there, and they can give the medication naloxone, which is the antidote to an overdose. In addition, they can give rescue breathing, which would be the first step. From most experienced people who are working in safe injection sites know that that's the best way to approach it before giving naloxone. Also, they can give clean needles and supplies. This helps prevent the transmission of infectious diseases like hepatitis C and HIV. Education can be provided here. Ideally, they can also offer detox beds and housing from this point of contact. That would be the most ideal thing with safe injection sites. That's the most beneficial way that they can provide harm reduction techniques. The next thing for harm reduction now includes for opioid users, and in this situation is to consideration for harm reduction by taking opioid replacement therapy. So whether it's methadone, Suboxone, or other injectable opiates that help prevent people from going into detox, preventing them from going into withdrawals. By giving them these medications, it helps attenuate the nasty side effects of going through withdrawal, but it helps them function. So they're in the driver's seat and they can help control their life. When a person is going through detox, it is a horrible situation. I know because I've been through it personally, and it is very difficult to function in life. So the idea of going on the opioid replacement therapy is that it puts them back in the driver's seat because it takes away the detox horrible symptoms, and that is very beneficial to people because now they can get back to life, get back to work and start functioning. And this is a very helpful thing for a lot of people who are struggling with opioid addiction because they can now start functioning, and it clears their mind, and they can start making clear decisions, which are not possible when they're going through withdrawal. The final thing for harm reduction, some of the newer things that are out there, is to provide safe drugs. I personally do not see any issue with providing medical grade heroin to drug users. This is not going to convert people into drug users, into IV drug users, because that just doesn't happen. People don't graduate into IV drug use because a clean drug is available. People are in this because they've already graduated to that drug use because they were opioid users by snorting, inhaling, digesting pills, or melting them down, and to the point where they started injecting. It's a stepwise approach to get to the point of IV drug use. And so by providing clean quality medical grade heroin, which is otherwise known as diacetylmorphine, reduces the chances of having an overdose. It's as simple as that, because most heroin that's taken from the street is contaminated with fentanyl, and they don't know how much is in it, and this is how so many people are unintentionally dying from opioid overdose. There's a huge section of people out there in the drug using community that are IV drug users who are taking contaminated heroin. The same argument could be said for the rest of the drug using community out there who are crushing down tablets, snorting it, thinking that it's OxyContin, but really it contains fentanyl. It's unavoidable that this is now happening. Most opioids on the street nowadays are contaminated with fentanyl. So why not give consideration to providing clean drugs, medical grade? And this seems totally crazy to some people. Like, why would we provide medical grade drugs to people? But the point is that this is an opioid epidemic. This is a crisis that's going on because people are taking drugs that are tainted with fentanyl. That's the most common way. And so to prevent these unintentional overdoses is to give them clean drugs. I think the war on drugs is useless. It's futile. No matter what we do, no matter how much policing is done and measures are taken and how much money is put into policing this, that there's no possible way of preventing drugs from entering into the United States and Canada. This is the problem with fentanyl. It is a small amount goes a long way, and a small amount can be mailed in a letter to people who are importing it, and it seems to me next to impossible. So it makes sense to take it to the next step and to provide medical grade drugs for consumption. This is not just like in a vending machine. This is actually a medical professional who's taking a proper assessment and can make the best decision for that patient in conjunction with this patient. So that, to me, that would be the best approach. So harm reduction is a very big, hot topic. There's many facets to it. To summarize it, it is compared to total abstinence model. This is generally for people who've tried and failed at total abstinence, and it can include safe injection sites, moderating their intake of drug use, opioid replacement therapy for opioid users like heroin users, and providing safe drugs for consumption like medical grade heroin and others. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment box below. Thank you.